as you head in the direction that Baba Yaga chose, whether at random or because she sensed something in any particular direction, you find a magnificent looking war horse, as white as freshly fallen snow, which is grazing in a patch of tall grass. It seems frightened and takes a skittish step backwards as you approach.
Not the bravest of beasts.
It is regarding you cautiously.
I suppose one of us should talk to it. Piper, you seem decent with animals.
I do not talk with the beast. They do not talk to me. I do not hold a conversation with rabbits.
Just mice?
He doesn't count, Storyteller. Hamlin has delusions of grandeur. Greetings, horse.
The horse sort of startles, but you think it's at the sudden sound rather than that it recognizes any words you are speaking.
Once more unto the dear friends, we shall go through a breach. I don't think it's paying much attention to us, you know. If it had been a real horse, as you so put it, it would have corrected my Shakespeare. It did not. It just looked at me. It is not a real horse.
Because it didn't enjoy your Shakespeare?
No, it didn't correct my Shakespeare. An unreal horse might well enjoy my Shakespeare, but real horses would correct it when it is wrong.
The horse is uneasily shifting from foot to foot, and it looks as though it is pondering fleeing.
I will attempt to tame the horse, I guess. I don't really know what this roll is.
Okay, you need a 5.
Oh, I failed.
You did. You start approaching the horse, and it rears up on its hind legs and bolts. But you notice it doesn't go very far. It is such a blinding white shade that it stands out very easily among the dark trees of the forest. And it is maybe 20 meters away from you, and it seems to be nosing at something on the ground.
Appears to be attempting to eat around something.
Honestly, I see no reason to chase after it.
That is a fair assessment. I don't think we should bother it.
The horse still seems to be trying to nudge something with its nose, and you hear the clanking of metal.
Alright, well, there's definitely something over there. Might as well investigate, as it could be a clue.
You did just hear her say that we should leave it alone, correct? Bert? And she just walked over there.
You don't need to entirely approach the horse in order to see what it is that it has been nudging with its nose. You assume it may be trying to wake up its former rider. The body of a knight lies on the ground in full armor, and on his chest lies a crest with the image of a fox with 2 tails.
Did we notice if that was the people, the king
You
and
haven't
queen that
seen
we're talking to?
You haven't seen it anywhere before.
Okay. It seems one of the missing knights may be nearby.
We had assumed that they did not survive. So I assume it wasn't the horse that killed it.
That would be impressive. Baba Yaga will approach the knight. It would appear that the knight is dead. I can't seem to determine what killed him.
It may not be important. If we are correct and we are in a story, what killed the knight might have been preordained, so to speak, whereas our fate could be very different. We may not be on an equal battlefield. The odds may have been against Sir Knight, as in, he may never have in fact lived. His entire existence may well have been what you see before you.
Does he have a weapon?
Yes, a sword. And the crest that is sitting on top of his chest is not a part of his armor, it is a distinct item.
Baba Yaga will bend down and pick up the crest.
It appears to be something that would maybe identify him as a particular person. It could perhaps be worn on his armor or attached somewhere as sort of it's heraldry basically. It says something about who he is. You could take it back with you to give to the castle as proof that he died or to pass on to his family.
She will put it in her bag of stuff.
As you leave behind one fallen knight, you stumble upon another. This knight is wearing rusty armor and lies dead near a spring of black bubbling water. His eyes are white and puffy like an insect's egg sac about to burst. In the corpse's hand is an ashwood spear with an iron point.
It would appear that this knight has been here for longer than the other.
How long has the princess been missing? It takes quite some time for metal to deteriorate.
Could that spear there be of any use?
Not to me. I don't know if there's any story element that is required.
James will walk over and yank it.
Okay, and you are able to pull it from the dead knight's grasp. You have retrieved the lance of the fallen knight, and if you would like to spend 1 XP, it is a scenario gift, and I can send you what it does, but that is your decision.
Once upon a time, a child saved the world of fairy tales. His reward was a wish. The one who plots in the shadows saw an opportunity to tarnish the child's heart, whispering words of corruption to him. The child asked the king of fairy tales to grant the villains, accursed for centuries, a new life. This was to be their chance for redemption. This was how the villains became good. But any light needs a shadow, and in turn, the heroes became evil. At that moment, all fairy tales were shattered. As you wander through the forest, you come across a ruined building, its stone walls crumbling. The coppery smell of blood is thick in the air, and from within, you can hear muffled sobs.
James will open the door.
The ground is strewn with corpses who hold various weapons. It seems as though all who live here have perhaps killed each other. A small girl is crouched against the wall, sobbing, the only apparent survivor.
James will walk over to her.
As you approach her, she lets out a sudden shriek of rage and jumps to her feet. In her hand is a knife that was hidden in a fold of her dress, and she lunges at you, slashing wildly. Please make a defense roll. You need a 5.
That's a fail.
Okay. You were taken by surprise, not expecting the crying child to be holding a knife, and while her swing is wild, it does manage to land a hit. She slices across your arm, not deep, but you do feel a sting of pain, and she deals 1 wound. And it is now player action in this exchange. Guess she got a surprise round, sort of a thing.
Can I attempt to grab her wrist in
You
order
can
to
certainly
disarm her?
try. You need a 5. I will say that if you are disarming her, you can still use your experience in combat and start with a 3.
That is a success. So as she lunged at James and he fell to the floor and she sliced him, he will, as she's like standing over top of him, he will grab her wrist and yank on the knife hard and toss it across the room.
Okay, and she stares at you in shock as though she wasn't quite expecting that to happen, and she will then shrink back against the wall, seemingly expecting you to attack at any moment.
Piper, can you come in here?
Piper will walk in.
You see a now terrified but still defiant looking child with her back pressed against the wall, trying to be as far away from James as possible, and James, whose arm is dripping blood.
A little careless of you.
Not expect a child to be wielding a knife.
And
This
with
is
the
more your
appearance of
specialty.
a second person, she is looking rather desperate.
You seem to find yourself in a difficult situation, a somewhat unpleasant environment. I am called Piper.
If you're going to kill me, just do it.
Why would we do that?
Because that's what everyone's doing. They tried to kill me and they all killed each other.
Well, the thing about me is I have a big problem about following orders and doing what everybody else does. I tend to not do that. I don't yet have a reason to kill you.
She's looking confused.
Baba Yaga will poke her head in.
And with the appearance of a third person, she's quite alarmed.
I'm sure Hook here has somewhat unhappiness about his said wound that you have, I assume, given him. However, he doesn't appear to want to kill you either.
She looks doubtful.
Who are you, if that is not too bold a question?
She looks suspicious, like she doesn't feel like she should be answering, and then she says, Linnea,
It is nice to meet you.
I used
Oh,
to
you have
live
finally
here.
arrived. You used to live here, in this dwelling, or the forest, or the city?
In this house. The girl is staring, eyes wide, with fear, but she doesn't know what to do as you are all in front of the only visible door, and she has no exit.
You still here?
I don't have anywhere to go.
But surely somewhere would be better than a place where people try to kill you?
They're all dead. They can't kill me anymore, but things out there can.
You assumed that there would be more things since your reaction to us.
There are more things. I tried going out there, but it's better in here. Even if everyone's dead.
Why don't you come with us?
I don't know you. I just want to go somewhere safe. But I don't think there's anywhere like that left.
It was pretty safe back at the castle, where we came from.
They wouldn't just let me in the castle.
They might if you came with us. We're allowed in the castle.
She looks slightly receptive. You were in the castle and people weren't killing each other.
Can't say they were.
Then I guess I could go there.
Do you know the way?
If you know where it is and you point, I can try. I don't know if I should go with you. Although you haven't attacked her, she still does not know who you are. Alright, she edges along the wall to get to the door, trying to still keep her back to all of you as though you might change your mind and attack her any second. And if she can get out past you, she will scamper off into the woods in the direction you indicated.
Thank God I'm wearing velvet.
And nothing remains inside the house except some very dead people.
Well, this is strange.
As you walk out through the door, you notice tendrils of thick fog have begun creeping around the base of the forest trees, and a sickly sweet smell of decay spreads with them. An imposing figure strides out of the fog through the trees. A moose. You are not sure how it is even standing, as its flesh has begun to rot in places down to the bone. Worms crawl through its flesh and hatch into moths that flit lazily around its antlers. The moose regards you with sad and tired eyes. You also see a torn cloak hanging from his antlers and a spear protruding from his side.
Could this be the same moose?
Awful coincidence if it's not.
James will attempt to approach the moose.
Alright, the moose neither flees nor makes any aggressive movements. It looks at you and almost seems as though it is trying to consider something.
I will attempt to pull the spear out of the moose.
The moose will take a step backward as you go to do that, and whether or not you were expecting that it is something he could do, will speak to you and say, "Please do not. That would hurt."
James will take a step back in sort of surprise. Well, wouldn't it hurt more leaving it in?
No. It killed me in a way, but I cannot die, not while the princess wishes me to live.
How did you get it trapped in you?
He sighs and says, "Some time ago I could not tell you how long. Time has seemed strange ever since I met the princess. She was very bright, good. If you meet her, you would understand. She was sad. She had heard rumors in the castle about life, about how life can be painful, and she wished for nothing more than a world where no one would ever feel pain. Something else she had heard rumors of was a pond deep in the forest that would grant any wish, with one exception. All wishes can be fulfilled if asked for by an innocent child. She asked me to take her there, and I should not have agreed, but I did. I took her to the forest, into the very center where the pond is, And on the way, she had to trade treasures for safe passage, but we made our way to the pond and she disappeared into it. I could not follow, nor can anyone else who lives in this forest, and ever since she entered the pond, chaos has fallen upon the land. Her family sent knights, and I encountered one of them. I suppose he viewed me as a threat. But I cannot die, for I suppose the princess still wishes me to live. You are looking for the princess?
We are hoping to bring her home to her family.
I would like to help you, as I would like to save her, but I cannot enter the pond. However, I wish no harm to befall her. Can I be certain that you wish her no harm?
We do not wish her harm.
That is not true of everybody.
The moose looks at you.
The Chamberlain? We were asked to possibly kill the princess to protect the kingdom from the curse. They could not give us proper reasons for it, however.
I would not like for that to happen.
It was not exactly our feeling either. What do you know of the curse?
It began when Princess Tuvstar vanished into the water.
If the curse is lifted when she is returned to her family, she will have nothing to fear.
And if it is not?
Then we will have to look for other solutions.
I can take you to the pond, but not yet. The magic surrounding it requires things to be done in a certain way. If you bring me the 2 treasures that the princess traded for safe passage, I could take you to the pond as well.
And what 2 treasures are those?
Her crown and her dress.
And where might we find those?
They are somewhere in this forest. The crown she gave to the fairies, and the dress to a halder. More than that, I cannot say.
So where do we look for them?
I assume we just go through the forest, look for the Fae and the holder.
Oh. So
Holder.
lead on. Let us find these treasures.
The moose retreats back into the fog and almost seems to fade away with it. He seemingly has no intention of joining you for this leg of the journey. And as you resume walking, you come across a marshy area in the forest. As you take this in, you find your actions once again narrated by your mysterious storyteller. The hunters have come to the swamps, shrouded in thin veils of ghostly mist. The moon seems to crack and bleed in the sky, and the faint stars die out one by one as they travel deeper into this nocturnal realm. There is a light in the distance, reflecting in the swamps and still water. And as her voice trails off, you do indeed see a soft glow ahead.
So what do you make of that?
I suppose it's possible it's one of the 2 that we're looking for.
You are a magician of great power and import, you so often impart.
Thank you. There's no need to finish that statement.
No, there's not, because I've not been very impressed with it so far. I expect more of your magical ability in a magical place.
Everything is magical here.
Yes,
But
you
it's
told me already. I
not.
need more.
Her crown is no more magical than anything else in this place.
Meaning,
It's not gonna light up like a beacon.
you make breadcrumbs glow in the dark?
Yes, but I have to have the breadcrumbs to make them glow. If you find me the crown, I can make it glow.
If I can find the crown, we wouldn't need to make it glow.
Baba Yaga will walk off.
James will go to the light.
As you walk closer to the light, you can see that it comes from a small golden crown sitting on a patch of mossy earth on a small island in the swamp. Around the crown dance many silhouettes, enthralled as if moths to a flame. They are tiny, but look like women with long hair and seem to be full of joy as they bask in the golden light. Nearby in the mud are the bodies of those who have drowned here over the centuries. They have risen from the earth and watched the fairies dance with empty eye sockets. The small island is reachable from where you are if you jump from stone to stone in the swamp. It doesn't look too difficult.
James will attempt.
Before you try and do that, James,
James won't attempt.
He stops
You-
mid jump.
you may want to consider that the creatures of the swamp do not want you to take it. Be prepared for a fight.
I am the best of what I do. James will go back to hopping on the rock.
Okay, you can make your way from rock to rock, and you find yourself on the small island in the swamp. On the ground lies the golden crown, and 12 fairies continue to dance around it, looking ecstatic.
James will bend over to pick it up.
Now, 12 fairies turn all at once to look at you, and they no longer appear joyful, but full of rage. They are all, as you picked it up, going to attack you. Okay, 4 have lunged first, so you need to make a defense check. You need a 7.
I fail.
So, 4 of the fairies swoop at you so suddenly you are not expecting it, and they are stronger than you would imagine. They do not attack you with their teeth or with their nails, but working together, they manage to push you into the water. You take 1 wound from the fall, And as you sink deep into the cold depths, the hands of the drowned surround you and try and pull you deeper still. You need to make an opposition check of 5 to escape the water.
With James being a pirate, and obviously I would assume swimming and having a similar experience.
I'll
Not
give you a
being,
base of 3.
I think.
No. Okay, so you managed to thrash your way to the surface. So you are able to breathe. However, you are still gripped by hands that are trying to drag you down. Your next turn, you're not going to be able to do anything other than try and escape. And James had dropped the crown back on the ground when he was thrown into the swamp. The fairies have gone back to joyfully dancing around it.
Then Piper will go over using his extremely agility.
Yep, not a problem for him.
But he will not interfere with them, since he did see that they pretty much ignored Hook until he touched the crown.
And Baba Yaga is going to use some magic to try and get a vine or a root to come from the small island to give James something to hold on to.
Okay, she can do that. Piper, as you jump your way nimbly across to the small island and alight upon it, for a moment your shadow falls across the light of the crown, and this brief interruption in the light emanating from it, the fairies, for a moment, stop dancing and appear almost confused. But then you take another step and your shadow is no longer on it, and they go back to happily dancing.
Does he have a big enough kerchief or something that would fit over
Sure,
it?
he can have one.
He will take that out. He will not pick up the crown. He will, with his agility, place it over it without touching it so that it covers the crown.
And the second that the light is fully covered, the fairies stop and look around them and seem to be taking in the darkness and destruction of the land for the first time. And they suddenly begin to scream, it seems in agony, as they realize how much the lands have been corrupted. A few of them, as they scream in anguish, almost seem to melt away, leaving behind a pool of dew in the grass. And the few that remain immediately begin begging you to save the land.
We are trying to do so, little one. That is why we are here.
And they look at you earnestly and nod and still seem a little bit confused. And James is no longer being dragged down by dead people.
We have a slight problem.
Baba Yaga is still on the other side of the bank, so she can't.
I
really
know,
hear
I'm
you unless
calling
shout.
you. I was shouting at you.
What is it?
I have fixed our immediate problem. But we need to pick it up.
And one of the fairies will chime in. Nothing will happen now if you take it. Now we have realized we are no longer ensnared by the crown. Please take it.
Piper will reach just before he touches it. Are you sure? You got rather uncompromising with my friend.
Yes, take it away, please.
And Piper will grab it and run.
And nothing happens.
He gets to the other side and gives it to Hook. You deserve this, my friend. You earned it.
Every time I underestimate this damned fairy tale.
Children and fairies will murder you. This is what we're learning. But only if you're Captain Hook. That's actually fairly accurate for Captain Hook. It's all going according to your story. It's fine.
The other giddy man also got off his head.
All right, and you have retrieved a crown. And Piper has an intense conversation with the tree.
Yeah, you're weird. That's all I can say. You're weird.
All right, I assume someone is perhaps helping James out of the water, or he's managed to scramble out himself.
With the vine.
If you wish an interlude before continuing on, that could help you heal wounds or anything like that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then you can use an XP to recover a wound. As you go to continue on past the marsh, you hear a now familiar voice. Our heroes find themselves in an area of forest far darker than any they have traversed thus far. The woods are deep and dark and full of menacing shadows. They pass by giant boulders entirely covered in dense moss, and trailing lichens hanging from tree branches that shudder and creak in the cold wind. But the most foreboding sign of all lies right at their feet. As her voice trails off, you see a streak of blood and slime on the dirt before you, as though something heavy and rotting had dragged itself along.
Not very pleasant.
Has anything been in this place?
I suppose we should follow the trail.
I agree.
We will follow.
As you follow this trail of blood and other unpleasant substances, you begin at a certain point to hear muttering ahead of you. And as you approach farther still, you see a figure. What you assume may be the Hulder you have heard of has a feminine form, and you can see traces of what might have been beauty, but she has become grotesque. She is bloated and swollen with spongy, rotting skin, and gobbets of flesh and gore spew from her mouth. A tattered and dirty piece of cloth is tied over her eyes, and she is muttering something over and over to herself.
Can I sneak closer and try and determine what she's muttering?
I'm going to make the opposition level easier since you're not trying to attack her. You need a 3.
That is a success. She's been practicing sort of blending into the background, using some slightly minor illusion magic, nothing that would require soma or give me any substantial advantage. But it's harder for people to look at her, avoiding any sort of sticks and branches that might be on the ground, any crunchy leaves, and trying to get close to hear what is being mumbled.
Okay, and as you get closer, you can hear, I am beautiful. I am the most beautiful. I am graceful and lovely. I am so beautiful. It says over and over.
Is it wearing it was the dress?
The dress was given to the Hulder. The only piece of fabric you can see is the dirty, tattered piece of cloth tied around her eyes.
Does it look like it could have been a dress at one point?
It could have been.
Baba Yaga will slip back to the others. She's mumbling about being beautiful.
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, in this case, she has her eyes covered because she can't face the truth, is my guess. It's possible that its eyes may be covered, buy the dress that we're looking for.
Did it look like it was covered with dress?
It did.
Or what color is?
The fabric, it's very dirty, but it could have been white.
So how do we get it off?
Does anyone have any other fabric that we could offer in trade?
Piper would like to. I spend the soma, and
Okay.
while they're discussing it, is this the cloth you wanted to take?
It is. What did you do?
And there is a scream from behind you.
Oh dear. And he gives it to Baba Yaga.
No, you fool. This is the only thing that was keeping her from... Oh, I think we should run.
And a large creature is running as fast as she can towards you, screaming in anger.
You said you wanted the fabric.
Yes. No, I wanted... If you had fabric, we could trade it, and then... It didn't matter what fabric she had.
Do you know that?
It's so obvious. Baba Yaga's having a bit of trouble, but suddenly she comes up with an idea. As they are running, there's a sandy area, and she's going to bend down and turn the sand into glass.
Okay, you can do that for one Soma. And what does it look like? How do you turn this to glass?
So she reaches down and places her palm into it, kind of buries it underneath a bit, focuses for a moment. Out from her hand, it, like electricity, first these spires go out in all directions, and then the space between them begins to fill with more and more until the entire thing is a solid sheet of clear glass. Not clear,
Okay.
reflective glass.
She sees right through it. No. And the Hulder running towards you had been emitting shrieks of rage, it sounded like, but upon being faced with her own reflection, she lets out a heartbreaking shriek of agony. And looking at herself for a moment or two, she begins to weep. And then she begins to retch and heave, and suddenly she vomits up people and animals and all kinds of things it appeared she had eaten. And as she does so, she begins to shrink and goes from a massive, bloated, monstrous creature back to what you assume was perhaps her original form. She is human-sized and looks mostly human, although there is certainly a spirit sort of sense about her, and she looks intensely ashamed and guilty, and she runs away into the woods sobbing.
This is on you, Piper, not me.
I got you what you wanted.
And you have a crown, and you have, when you unfold it, what does prove to be a tattered and mud-streaked dress. And as you realize that you have both the treasures you were sent to find, a fog that reeks of decay rolls in, and out from it strides a moose. You have found the items, then.
I believe we have.
Then I will lead you to the pond. Or if you wish, you may ride on my back.
That's okay. It has, lovely qualities, but I think we'll be fine walking.
The moose seems to not really mind either way and begins walking deeper into the forest, assuming that you will follow him.
He has assumed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And Shahrazad's voice is full of excitement as she takes up her narration. My dear audience, our heroes have finally reached their destination. Or have they? They have arrived at the center of the forest. Before them is a pool of freezing black water, surrounded by gnarled and dead trees. All is still and silent. And after her voice fades away, it is.
Do we have to be innocent children to survive the pool?
The moose ponders this and says, I do not know. I do not think so. That was the requirement only to have your wishes fulfilled. And before you is a still pool that looks like black glass. There is not a ripple upon its surface, and it seems to radiate cold. And if you walk closer, you can see that although no one is around the pool, there is a reflection upon that still surface.
Baba Yaga will go over and look at the pool.
As you walk closer to the pool, you notice that on the bank in front of you are footprints leading down into the water. And as you reach the water's edge, you can see a reflection, although there is no one there to cast it. You see a girl, unclothed but for her long, pale gold hair that cascades around her. She is sitting on the reflected shore and staring up out of the water. Next to her sits a knight's plate armor. You can see a shield with a heraldic symbol of a fox with two tails.
Baba Yaga will step into the pool with the two items in hand.
As you enter the water, the cold takes your breath away and you feel as though you have been stabbed by 1,000 icy needles. The deeper you swim down, the colder it becomes. At the bottom, you can feel nothing but silt and weeds which almost seem to try and entangle you. Just as your lungs are burning and you begin to feel lightheaded, a sudden brightness appears above. Rays of sunlight are streaming down through the water, bringing warmth with them. You burst up from the water into warmth and sunlight and see above you a clear blue sky. From the perspective of the other two, Baba Yaga entered the water and did not return. However, you now see a reflection of her standing on the reflected bank within the pond. However, the reflection of the princess is gone. And after Baba Yaga disappeared, the ripples quickly vanished and the pond is still again.
I really don't want to do this. But hindsight being what it is, I don't want hindsight to be what it is. Piper will go into the pool.
And the same for him. He has to reach the cold depths, and as he does so, a light appears above. And swimming to that, he finds himself breaking the surface of an entirely different seeming pond than the one he went into.
Don't mind me, I have excellent faith in your abilities.
James will sigh and dive in.
The Broken Tales RPG is released by the World Anvil Publishing, starring Ghost as Piper, SPG as James Henry Hook, Shadow as Baby Yaga, Emily is the Storyteller. Sounds and music by Syrinscape.com and Epidemicsound. You can find us at critfail.com.